Yamla, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of GMS, the great millstone who rule well, and peace, love, and salutations to the Bayaf Dawadah, okay, the house of David, that's being built up in these last days, in which, just like in the ancient world, all right, when the physical temple was being built up, all right, during the reign, well, the decree, I should say, was given, all right, by Cyrus, all right, the king of the Persians and the Medes, all right, because the spirit had jumped on him, all right, basically to order, okay, the reconstruction of the temple in which King Nebuchadnezzar, all right, the king of the Babylonians destroyed, all right, and around that time in which, you know, we through the spirit, all right, was able to go back to our home, all right, when that prophecy had been fulfilled, all right, primarily the major prophet that prophesied of this was the prophet Jeremiah. We had went into captivity underneath the Babylonians, and on the way coming back, as we got what we needed, all right, financially, stones, wood, the backing, the green lights, all right, from the empire that ruled at that time, upon the building of that temple, there was some hindrance, and the hindrance came from the heathens that did not want us to build the temple. Now, when you go into the history, in fact, before I go into that history, the actual circular history, let me read the book of Ezra. Okay, so this is the book of Ezra, chapter 1, verse 1. Now the first year of Cyrus, the king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Lord stirred up the spirits of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying, Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord power of heaven have given me all kingdoms of the earth, and have charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judea. Who there is among you of all his people, is the Most High be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judea, and build the house of the Lord our power of Israel. He is the power which is in Jerusalem. Okay, so here is that decree, okay, that was given to throughout the kingdom, throughout the world, throughout the whole world, the whole ancient world. I'm gonna jump down to 7. Okay, actually 6. And all they were about them strengthened with their hands with vessels of silver, with gold, and goods, and with beasts, and with precious things, besides all the way willing offered. Also Cyrus the king brought forth the vessels of the house of the Lord, which Nebuchadnezzar had brought forth out of Jerusalem, and put them in the house of his gods. Even these did Cyrus king of Persia bring forth by the hand. Slack here. Okay, so so understanding that Cyrus put that decree, all right, because the Lord, all right, stirred up his spirit for that. Now, today, and some brothers use it in their introduction, going into the Bayaf Dawadah, which is the house of David, okay, which is being built in these last days. But this house that we're building, okay, this is a spiritual house that's being build it. It's not a physical temple like we did in the ancient world. All right, so pursuant to Amos, the 9th chapter, okay, it says, this is Amos chapter 9, verse 11, and in that day will I rise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old. Okay, and how is he building up this new spiritual temple? Matter of fact, it'll tell you that when you go to the book of Revelations. All right, Revelations, the 11th chapter. Okay. Revelations 11:1, and it was given to me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of the Most High, and the altar of them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles and of the holy city, that they should tread underfoot 42 months. Okay, so this is that temple, okay, that was being measured, and it was being measured according to the men of Yasharallah, according to the elect, the 144, all right, thousand. So the point that I wanted to bring out, not the building of the temple, but how everybody else felt about the building of the temple, okay? And then I'm going to go into circular history. Then I'm going to link it up with today's prophecy of what's going on concerning vocab alone, all right? And look at a more spiritual aspect as to, all right, the things that they're doing today are the things that they were doing in the ancient world, all right? So, let's go back to Ezra's. I'm going to go back to Ezra's. Ezra's. But this time we're going to go to the 4th verse, okay? Ezra's 4:1. And now when the adversaries... of Judah and Benjamin heard the children of the captivity builded the temple unto the Lord, their power of Israel, they came to Zerubbabel, the chief of the fathers, and said unto him, Let us build with you, for we seek your power as ye do. We do sacrifice unto him since the days of Esarhaddon, king of Ashur, which brought us up hither. Right? So they said, and now mind you, they said the adversaries. So the adversaries came like snakes, all right, pretending to be a part of this thing of ours, pretending to glorify our power, pretending to be with us, okay? But it made clear that it said now the adversaries of now to be adverse is to be against, okay, the building of the tabernacles of David, against Yasharallah, against our power, because we are one. And when you go into the history and you see you go into the circular history and you see how all the nations, they all at one point in time really they all got along. You know, every time there's always this tribal battles and disputes and whatnot, but for the most part at one point in time, you know, these kings gave tributes to one another. They gave gifts to one another. There was trading of commerce between one another, and the thing or the problem amongst it, they gave each other, they married, all right, in each other's kingdom. So one king will give his daughter to another king, and vice versa, so they can make that family bond, so they can make it official. That was a way of trusting, you know, one another. But when it came to Yasharallah, when it came to us, we never intermingled with them. It was strange for us because we wasn't giving our daughters, all right, to none of these heathens to marry. All right, we didn't want nothing to do with anybody. All right, we didn't want nothing to do. We stayed to ourselves. We had our own power. We had our own way. All right, we got our power directly, our strength, our knowledge directly from the source, directly from the Creator. All right, in which these other nations, they have to go through other gods, fake deities, or go through us in order to get any type of prophecy or any inkling, all right, from the Holy One. All right, so So to that and alone, it was strange unto them. We were always outcasts. We were always different. We was always set apart. And that goes into what us being holy. The word holy means to be set apart, to be separate. Okay? To be separate. Now, let me go back into this. So, it says, but Zerubbabel and Joshua and the rest of the chief of the fathers of Israel said unto them, ye have nothing to do with us to build an house unto our power, but we ourselves together will build, all right, unto the Lord our power of Israel, as King Cyrus, the king of Persia, have commanded us. Okay? Then the people of the land weakened the hands of the people of Judea and troubled them in building. Okay, so when you go into the circular history, there was a letter that was written. All right, and the letter that was written was to Cyrus's son, because Cyrus gave the decree, and then Cyrus died, and when Cyrus's son had taken the throne, these other nations, all these other nations, all right, the Moabites, the Edomites, all the Hamite nations, all these other nations wrote, all right, they signed. I think it's almost like U4CC. You know, they had a petition of these signatures, and they all co-signed on this letter. And in the letter, it basically stated that for the king of Persia not to allow, all right, not to allow the Israelites to build this temple. Because in building the temple, what you got to understand is the temple, all right, was a representation of power, because there was a lot of things that went on in the temple. The temple being basically the heart of what we did militarily, economically, and spiritually. And you know, in order to rule, those three things are key factors: your spirituality, your military, and your economics. You know, those three things are symbolic of power. When you go into the book of Revelations, it talks about the three frogs, in which Esau, he rules the world, all right, by the same degree, but on the left hand side. And whereas you have in the UK, they deal with the finance. That's a financial district. In the District of Columbia, where the Pentagon is, they deal with the military. And in the Vatican City, all right, another district in which they deal with the spiritual. Okay, so the temple to us was a source of power, independence, all right, our money, all right, where we sacrifice, where the Levites met together, where the law was issued. That was our court system. That would be our Supreme Court, all right. That would be our Pentagon, all right, our Supreme Court, our Pentagon, all right, all in one, a spiritual place. So it was a representation of the power and the glory of Yahweh, all right, first and foremost, but what unified us as a people. Okay, and when they wrote when they wrote that letter, this is what they were saying. They were saying that these people have always been a prick in their side. If you let them build that city, what they're going to do is they're going to overtake our kings. All right, they're going to outshine us. All right, they're going to outdo us. Okay, so they hindered us. All right, it was very important for them to hinder what we was doing. And you could read even more about that when you go to Psalms, the 83rd chapter. And we're going to get, out of Ramatazah, we're going to get that as well. Okay, so let me see if there's more on this. Okay, there is. Then the people of the land weakened the hands of the people of Judah and troubled them in building, and hired counselors against them to frustrate their purpose all the days of Cyrus the king of Persia, even until the reign of Darius king of Persia. All right, now this is what they did, and they spent money. Now when you go into the times of the Maccabean revolts, around the time when Alexander's generals, Ptolemy, Cassandra, Lachemaeus, Seleucus, when they took power, and they made desolate the temple. Okay, even after this had taken place, you see that those armies, those nations who didn't even like each other, they would get together and they would get together to join forces one another to come up against Jerusalem, all right, to come up against our people, all right. Why? To hinder our progress, because we are the greatest people on the earth, okay. And they knew this, and they know this, all right. All the elites of these other societies know exactly who the children of Israel are, all right. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do a part 2. I'm gonna finish off on this, but let me